Yellowjackets had us in a chokehold, and while we'll watch any TV series that explores psychological thrillers, this one was unique. It's truly the result of imagination being allowed to run wild. So wild that even after the end of its first season, fans just can't seem to get enough. And they've presented their theories about the show, some of which are simply incredible. Let's dive into some Yellowjacket theories that would change everything. Before we crack down on the theories, we've got some fantastic news for all of you. Yellowjackets has been renewed for Season 2. It's been revealed that we will see a Season 2 before the end of the year, around the same time Season 1 came out. But you don't have to wait that long for answers. Here are some insane theories that might present you with answers, but also might leave you asking some questions. First up, is Jackie really dead? Based on the first episode and the facts presented, it seems like a no-brainer that Jackie, played by Ella Purnell, is dead and was also eaten by the cannibal-turned girls. They made a pretty convincing case for it, but on multiple rewatches, it would appear that she might not have been dead. Although the show initially had us believe that everyone other than the 4 adults that we know died or was killed for food, however, that turned out to be wrong when we saw that Travis survived, and we just don't believe that he's the only one. Look, we didn't mean an adult version of Jackie, did we? That means she never made it out of the woods, but her diary, kept at her parents' house, might just suggest something different. The diary had many references, if you remember, to films that came out after 1996. 1996 is the year of the crash, and that just doesn't seem like a lazy detail of the show. The writers are far too clever to make a mistake of this sort, so where's Jackie? Could she be a time traveler or something? All we're saying is that something's up with Jackie. Next, who's the Antler Queen? The Antler Queen has raised many questions for the fans of the show. We think, like the majority, that the Antler Queen is Lottie. Her hair offers the biggest clue, and considering it's long enough to form the robe, but also by the process of elimination, she seems to be the front runner. She's also the weirdest one out of everyone else, and could easily have been possessed by the spirit of the cabin's original owner, as well as the fact that she's the first to notice things. Remember how she noticed the flashing light from the cabin? Remember how she was the first to notice the carvings on the trees? For us, her connection with the supernatural puts her in the driving seat. But there are other possibilities too. We aren't ruling them out, and while it could be Jackie, which would be an insane twist, we also can't rule out Shauna. Either way, this one's an open mystery, and we can only speculate as to who the flesh-eating queen really is. Another is that Shauna's baby won't survive. This is one of our ruthless theories, and we're sorry in advance. We know from the timeline of the show that teen Shauna's pregnant, and we also find out, much to the surprise of everyone, that the father is Jackie's boyfriend Jeff. The important question, though, is about the pregnancy. Does it survive or not? Shauna was keen on abortion and attempts one, but doesn't go through with it. For some godforsaken reason, we opened Reddit, and apparently the theory was a pretty popular one, except it gets much worse, as according to a certain faction of fans, the baby will get eaten, as Shauna has been dreaming about giving birth to food. Of course, there's no way of finding out right now whether they eat the baby out of starvation, or the baby dies naturally and they end up eating it, or if they eat the baby at all. So we'll probably just have to wait and see. And then, who's the blackmailer? While most of our questions should get answered by Season 2, there are just so many thought-provoking possibilities that one just can't stop thinking. Another one of these questions is about who the blackmailer could be. It could easily be someone connected to the Yellowjackets. It could be the murderer who killed Travis. It could be someone from the outside forces intent on sabotaging the group. There's a good chance that the blackmailer isn't Adam, because the timeline was too tight between the blackmailer and Adam when he comes to Shauna's house. Although one person who has the leading odds is Shauna's husband, Jeff. Jeff seems to be the obvious option behind the glitter mess, and And he was also not doing inventory at all the hours of the night, so theoretically it could be Jeff. Up next, is Adam actually Javi? This is one of the more popular theories, and this one could really change the storyline dramatically. Basically, this theory revolves around older Shauna's love interest, the dashing Adam, played by Peter Gadio. You're welcome. People believe that Adam's actually grown-up Javi, played by Luciano LaRue. It could be true because when the plane crashes, Javi's a few years younger than Shauna, so it could be a real possibility. The show didn't reveal what happens to him, but we do know that Javi has a lot of interest in art. Who else has a lot of interest in art? Adam. He even has a tattoo of a mountain range, and there are lots of geometric symbols that keep coming up now and then in different scenes throughout the first season. This is one theory that will come up again in the second season for sure. We're heavily invested in it. And then we have the man with no eyes. There's no doubt that the entire show is quite creepy and can be harrowing to say the least, but that dude who has no eyes is just straight up scary, man. We see him for the first time when Thaisa is on her way to see her grandmother's place and sees a pale figure of a man who has bloody and empty eye sockets. This figure goes on to haunt her, and her grandmother also can see this person. Is it a stress response? Is Ty hallucinating? No idea, but theories suggest that she could be. Most recently in the show, the man with no eyes appears at a press conference outside her home. Ty does sleepwalk, winding up in trees eating dirt, so it wouldn't exactly be a surprise if this creepy person is just a hallucination at best. Up next, what happened to the French Canadian? The skeleton that we see in the attic raised so many unanswered questions. Sadly, the show didn't elaborate much on it, at least not in the first season. However, looking at the facts, there are some bone-chilling narratives that we can take away from this particular skeleton. How does a body die and decompose in there? It probably was being kept hostage. Not to mention there were no signs of bloodshed, a struggle, or any injury at all. Could it be that the French Canadian was kept there against his will? Definitely a real possibility. It only gets likelier when you realize that his fingers have been cut off, and it points to the fact that something was ensuring that he doesn't leave the cabin. Lottie, it, was keeping him there. But what was it? And who's the first victim of the Yellowjackets? So we've established that the girls are lying, and they didn't starve, and it was confirmed when we saw them hunting down someone. That should confirm that they've at least ate one of their teammates so far. It could have been Coach Ben, but this has been left open to our imagination, and we doubt we'll find the answer until season 2 comes out. Some believe it could be Jackie because the crew wasn't fond of her pursuit of Travis, and there were reasons to believe that they wanted to get rid of her. Similarly, however, Mari remains in the mix too, and after the final episode, it seems like she's the one being chased down. It could also be Coach Ben, as we saw him losing his power over the girls, and he was definitely not in it for the long haul. Lastly, who signaled the girls from the cabin? There's a decent chance that this might have something to do with Lottie, but there was a flashing light, and Lottie, along with Jackie, was the first to spot it. The girls were hanging around the lake at the time, and this instance is what leads them to the cabin. From what we've seen, the cabin was dirty, and there were many trees around it, so it couldn't have been some light bouncing off naturally. So how exactly were the girls summoned? Lottie mentioned that the plant life didn't let the French Canadian guy leave. Does that have to do with the forest itself calling the girls towards the cabin? Towards the end, when Jackie has her death dream, Hunter says that he's glad that she's joining us and how we have been waiting for you. Could that we have signaled the girls from the cabin? That's a wrap for this video. Do you have any theories of your own about the show? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.